Hey everybody, this is Apps. You may have seen me on Twitch. Today you'll see me on YouTube. Over the last couple days, people have been asking and showing up in chat and like, how do you do the speed strategy for White Shadow Castle? People who watch the stream regularly have seen me do it fairly often. We currently have the #1 speed record on Tayor server, which isn't really that big a deal, honestly. But the main reason why this strategy is great is that it makes a fairly complicated, it's not that complicated, but a somewhat complicated fight that people have found frustrating and makes it completely the least frustrating experience you'll have. So the first thing we'll go over is team comp. So you'll notice we don't have healers. We just have Bastet for sustain. She brings attack buff, the shield, etc. It's super good. There's a decent amount of area effect damage during the fight, so she sort of protects us against that while providing the attack buff we need. The second piece of the puzzle is Helia's. You can probably do it with one Helia. 2 is probably better. 3 might be too many. She brings consistent defense break and branding to increase your DPS. The other units you'll see, we have 3 Naomis on the team. Those are not required. Whatever your best damage is probably sufficient. The requirements for the DPS are not that stringent. So we use Theomars, Sussy's using Theomars in this case. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your best damage is, try it with that. You probably will be successful. The spec of the main character doesn't matter too much. I like either fire or wind with Orbia for additional break or defense break or branding or burn in the case of fire. But that doesn't really matter too much either. I'll go over the general strategy for how it works. The fight's going to look way less complicated than you normally see it. So first things first is you're going to have a dedicated target for the orbs, or not the orbs, I guess. They're more like circles. But anyway, there's these red circles on the ground. So you'll see me run in first. And what I do is I move in about halfway. So about right here is whenever he gains aggro on you. I send in my monsters, and at the same time, he's going to be targeting me with the red orb, or the red circle. It doesn't do that much damage, so I just stand in it, and he will follow up the first one with a second one, which will also hit me. I let both of them just sit on me, and then once that second one is fired at me, then I move out. So you'll see that here. There's the first one. My monsters are in doing damage. Second one hits. At this point, I'm allowed to move. The next move that he's going to follow that up with, and this is consistent every time, is he will do this forward targeted laser. He will do this 4 times in a row, but you can sequence break this as well as the next part. So he'll do this first laser, right? That you don't want to stand in because it does an attack break and an armor break. So even through the Bastet shield, you can potentially die. So you get out of that. You'll see that I actually take a couple attack breaks and armor breaks, which is not optimal because that reduces my damage, and it is a DPS raise strategy. The next thing is that I need to keep in mind is theoretically at this point we would be targeted by the next laser because he does imagine the areas in 4 quadrants. He does middle one side, middle the other side, far outside, far like that. That's the order it goes in. It's random which side he targets first though. So the faster strategy is if you get good RNG, he targets opposite the side that your DPS is already standing on. The next thing to keep in mind is that typically the hard part of this entire fight is the fact that he will eventually stick his hand in the ground, go invulnerable. You have to DPS the hand to break him out of it, then continue fighting him. That's why people get frustrated with this fight pretty much. But you're not required to do that because he has certain breakpoints that if you hit them, you can sequence break that setup, right? And those numbers are at like 70%, 40%, and 20%, I believe. I'm not exactly sure on the second 2, but I know 100% that the first one is at 70%. So if you manage to get him to 70% damage, he will break out of whatever he's doing, and he'll move into like a 2-handed, like sort of chain attack thing, like what you're seeing here. This doesn't do very much damage. In fact, it's basically ignorable, right? We're taking a little bit of damage. It's not that big a deal. The only reason I took damage here is because I had that armor break because I didn't move fast enough. So the great thing about this though is that if you manage to hit the next breakpoint before he's done, he will just pause for a moment. And he won't go into doing the arms or anything. He'll just do the next version of this. So you basically just keep him in this setup where he's not doing anything. And easy as that, you just kill him. Like it's literally, other than the initial setup and having enough runes and stats to actually do it, the hard part of the fight is just the DPS phase. Simple. If you're too slow, basically if he does all 4 lasers before you do 70% of his health, he will do the arm. But that basically means that you have failed your attempt at doing the speed strategy. 70% is very doable. Like, most people should be able to do it. I don't think it's honestly that hard. I mean, we're obviously kind of on the edge of doing good damage and such, but it's very achievable. I'll put it that way. That's effectively it. And in addition, the 70% breakpoint, the very initial one, is the hardest one to hit. If you manage to do that 70%, I can almost guarantee you will have no issues the rest of the fight. Because that 70% breakpoint, he's setting up he's not setting up. We're setting up our DPS. We're moving around. We're doing things, right? After that first bit, you don't move anymore. If he does 2 lasers, so keep this in mind, is if he does 2 lasers at the beginning, you're going to have to dodge from one into the space where the other one was. That's basically it. I don't really even have much more to say about it. It's simple as that. Just try it out. If you have any questions about it, come ask in Twitch chat. Probably the easiest, or maybe even ask in the comments if I read them, which theoretically I should, but I don't do that much YouTube, so so good luck, boys. Thanks for watching, and good luck in White Shadow Castle.